In the pursuit of spiritual awakening, we often envision a path illuminated by wisdom, clarity, and divine connection. Yet beneath this celestial pursuit lies an unspoken terrain, one shadowed by profound challenges, inner turmoil, and unforeseen struggles. This hidden dimension of spiritual growth is rarely discussed, as the focus remains on the blissful revelations of enlightenment. But true transformation is never without its trials. To awaken is not merely to step into the light. It is to journey through the depths of one's being, unearthing both the radiance and the darkness that reside within. It is an unraveling of illusions, a confrontation with the self, and a surrender to the unknown. The mystics have long understood this paradox, that awakening is not a destination but an unending metamorphosis. As Carl Jung once stated, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And so, as we walk this path, we are forced to reckon with the hidden trials of awakening, the solitude, the dissolution of identity, the overwhelming sensitivity, and the disorienting collapse of all we once knew. These challenges are not roadblocks. They are initiations into a deeper understanding of ourselves and the nature of existence. Before we continue, I invite you to write in the comment this mantra: I attract prosperity and wisdom in my life, to increase the positive energy in your life. The journey of awakening does not always feel like an ascension. In fact, it often feels like a descent into the unknown corridors of the soul, where every belief, every attachment, and every illusion is called into question. At first, this unraveling can feel like losing oneself entirely. The familiar structures of identity begin to dissolve, and what once brought comfort, our relationships, our routines, our ambitions, suddenly feels foreign. It is here that we encounter the paradox of awakening. The more we awaken, the more alone we may feel. As our consciousness expands, our perception of the world shifts. Conversations that once held meaning may now seem trivial. Relationships that once felt aligned may begin to drift, and the longing for something deeper intensifies. This isolation is not a punishment, it is an invitation to stand in the presence of our own soul, to listen to the whispers of the universe without distraction, and to forge a relationship with the self that is not dependent on external validation. Rainer Maria Rilke understood this when he wrote, "The only journey is the one within." And within this solitude, we come to see that loneliness and liberation are not opposites, they are companions on the path to true self-realization. Beyond solitude, another challenge emerges: the hypersensitivity that accompanies awakening. As the veil of illusion lifts, our connection to the world deepens, but so too does our awareness of its suffering. What once felt mundane now carries an unbearable weight: the subtle energies of a room, the unspoken emotions of others, the collective pain that lingers beneath the surface of humanity. This heightened perception is a gift, yet it can feel like a curse. The awakened soul begins to experience reality not through a veil of detachment, but through an intimate, almost overwhelming communion with all things. This newfound sensitivity can be disorienting, leaving us feeling raw, exposed, and vulnerable. But within this vulnerability lies a profound truth: that we are not separate from the world, but intricately woven into its fabric. The suffering we perceive is not something to escape, but to understand, to hold with compassion, and to transform into wisdom. The Buddhist master Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "The seed of suffering in you may be strong, but don't wait until you have no more suffering before allowing yourself to be happy." Awakening is not about eliminating suffering. It is about learning to exist within it, to embrace the full spectrum of existence without being consumed by it. Perhaps the most deceptive challenge on the path of awakening is the illusion of attainment. The ego, though seemingly diminished in the face of spiritual growth, has a cunning way of reshaping itself. It wears the mask of enlightenment, convincing us that we have arrived, that we are beyond the struggles of the ordinary world. This spiritual ego is subtle, but it is one of the most dangerous pitfalls of the journey. It tempts us with the idea that we are somehow above those who have not yet awakened, leading to judgment, superiority, and disconnection from the very truth we seek. True wisdom, however, is found in humility. It is found in the recognition that awakening is not a one-time event but a continuous unfolding. The ancient Taoist sage Lao Tzu reminds us, to know that you do not know is the best. To pretend to know when you do not know is a disease. The real test of spiritual growth is not how much knowledge we acquire, but how deeply we embody the wisdom of presence, compassion, and surrender. The enlightened mind does not seek to prove itself, it simply exists in harmony with what is. And so the true path is not about claiming enlightenment, but about dissolving into it over and over again, without attachment to the illusion of finality. In the end, the dark side effects of awakening are not obstacles to be feared, but initiations to be embraced. They are the sacred fires through which we are refined, stripped of illusion, and reborn into a deeper state of being. Every challenge, whether it be isolation, hypersensitivity, disillusionment, or the ever-present ego, serves as a mirror, reflecting back the parts of ourselves that long to be integrated. To awaken is not to escape the world, but to fully engage with it, to see it with unclouded eyes and an open heart. As Rumi so beautifully said, "Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop." Awakening is a shedding of falsehoods, of attachments, of all that is not aligned with our deepest truth. And in this shedding, we do not lose ourselves, we find ourselves, standing at the threshold of the infinite, ready to step into the unknown. Amid the solitude of spiritual awakening, a transformation unfolds, one that is often unexpected, yet profoundly necessary. It is within this space of quiet detachment that the individual begins to experience revelations that transcend ordinary understanding. Solitude, which may initially seem like an exile from the familiar, reveals itself as a sanctuary for the soul. When the external noise fades, the inner voice grows clearer, whispering truths that had long been drowned out by the distractions of daily life. In this vast stillness, the seeker finds an unshakable connection with the self, one that is not influenced by societal expectations, external validation, or fleeting relationships. It is a return to authenticity, an unfiltered communion with one's own essence. For many, this period of isolation becomes a catalyst for immense creativity and insight. Writers, mystics, and sages across cultures have found their greatest wisdom not in the company of others, but in the depths of solitude. Here, ideas flow freely, inspiration strikes like lightning, and a profound sense of inner peace takes root. What was once a discomforting emptiness evolves into a sacred space of reflection and growth. This shift is not an escape from the world, but rather a deeper engagement with it, from a place of centeredness and clarity. True interconnectedness does not begin with external bonds. It begins with an intimate knowing of the self. When one becomes fully at home within, the perceived separation from the world dissolves, revealing inherent unity with all that is. Yet, along with this newfound depth of awareness comes a challenge that many do not anticipate: the overwhelming weight of heightened sensitivity. Spiritual awakening does not merely sharpen perception, it amplifies every aspect of existence. It is as if a veil has been lifted, revealing dimensions of reality that were once imperceptible. The colors of life seem richer, the emotions of others more tangible, the pulse of the universe more distinct. This sensitivity extends far beyond the physical senses. It permeates the emotional and energetic realms. One begins to sense not only what is spoken, but also what lingers beneath the surface: the unexpressed sorrows, the silent struggles, the hidden intentions. This heightened empathy brings a deepened connection with others, yet it also exposes the soul to the raw intensity of the world's suffering. To be awake in this way is both a gift and a burden. The joys of life are felt more deeply, but so too are its sorrows. One cannot turn away from the suffering that was once easily ignored. The energy of a crowded room can feel overwhelming. The pain of another can be felt as if it were one's own, and the world's chaos can weigh heavily on the heart. Without proper discernment, this flood of stimuli can become exhausting, leaving the seeker emotionally drained and spiritually fatigued. The boundaries between self and other blur, making it difficult to distinguish where one's own emotions end and those of the collective begin. Learning to navigate this sensitivity becomes an essential skill, one that requires balance, boundaries, and self-care. Just as an artist must learn to refine their tools, the awakened soul must learn to refine their energy, filtering what is beneficial and releasing what is harmful. This process does not mean closing off or numbing oneself, but rather cultivating resilience and discernment. Sensitivity, when harnessed, becomes a profound strength. It enhances intuition, deepens creativity, and strengthens the ability to connect with the world on a soulful level. It transforms from a source of exhaustion into a guiding force, revealing beauty and meaning in even the most subtle aspects of existence. Yet perhaps the most harrowing aspect of the awakening journey is what has been called the dark night of the soul. A term rooted in the writings of the Spanish mystic Saint John of the Cross. It describes an experience of profound spiritual crisis, a collapse of meaning, a descent into existential uncertainty, a confrontation with the void. It is a phase where all previous beliefs, attachments, and identities disintegrate, leaving one feeling utterly lost. What was once a source of purpose now feels hollow. What once provided comfort now offers no solace. The external world may appear unchanged, yet internally everything is unraveling. This is not merely a period of sadness or disillusionment. It is a dismantling of the ego, a stripping away of all that is false. It forces the individual to face their deepest fears, their unresolved traumas, and the aspects of themselves they have long suppressed. Carl Jung famously stated, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. The dark night of the soul is this pain manifest. It is the price of awakening, the initiation into a deeper truth. In this darkness there is no easy escape, no shortcut back to comfort. It demands surrender. It demands the willingness to sit in the void, to allow everything that is not authentic to dissolve. Yet, though it feels like destruction, this process is ultimately one of rebirth. The old self must be shed so that something truer may emerge. The dark night does not last forever, though in the midst of it, it often seems endless. Those who endure it emerge transformed, no longer clinging to illusions but embracing the reality of their own existence with newfound clarity. It is a purification, a breaking open, a passage through the depths that leads not to despair, but to illumination. And when the dawn finally breaks, what remains is not the same person who entered the night, but one who has been refined by fire, stripped of falsehood, and awakened to the boundless depth of their own being. The path of awakening is not one of perpetual bliss. It is one of profound transformation. It demands courage, patience, and an unyielding commitment to truth. But those who walk this path, despite its trials, come to see that every shadow faced, every tear shed, and every moment of doubt was not in vain. Each was a step towards something greater, towards a life not just seen but truly felt, towards a consciousness not just awakened but fully alive. To walk the path of spiritual awakening is to venture into uncharted territories of the soul, where the journey is often as turbulent as it is enlightening. Among the most arduous phases is the dark night of the soul, a period of profound spiritual crisis where the very foundation of one's existence seems to crumble. It is a descent into the unknown, where meaning dissolves, leaving behind an unsettling void. In this darkness, everything that was once a source of certainty, beliefs, aspirations, and even faith itself, feels distant and irrelevant. The silence is deafening, and the loneliness is profound. Yet, paradoxically, it is within this abyss that the soul undergoes its deepest transformation. Moving through the dark night requires patience, resilience, and an unwavering trust in the process of metamorphosis. It is not a passage that can be rushed, nor a challenge that can be bypassed. Many seek solace in spiritual teachings, finding comfort in the wisdom of those who have endured this trial before them. Others lean on meditation, journaling, or deep contemplation as a way to process the inner upheaval. There is no singular roadmap through this darkness, but one truth remains: surrender is key. The more one resists, the longer the night lingers. But when one finally lets go, releasing attachment to identity, to past beliefs, and even to the need for certainty, a profound shift occurs. The dark night, though harrowing, is not an end. It is an initiation, a threshold through which the soul sheds its old skin and emerges reborn. Those who endure it do not return unchanged. They return wiser, stripped of illusion, and more deeply aligned with their truest self. Yet, as the dawn of spiritual awakening breaks, another unseen challenge arises. The illusion of spiritual superiority. This is perhaps one of the most deceptive obstacles on the path, for it disguises itself as enlightenment while quietly feeding the ego. It begins subtly, almost imperceptibly, when the awakened individual starts to see themselves as separate from or above those who have not yet seen the light. The mind, emboldened by newfound insights, convinces itself that it has reached a higher plane of understanding. What once was a journey of humility turns into a silent hierarchy, where wisdom is measured, compared, and at times, weaponized. This illusion is a dangerous one, for it distorts the very essence of true spiritual growth. Genuine awakening is not about self-exaltation. It is about deepening one's connection to the collective. The measure of spiritual maturity is not found in how much one knows, but in how much one loves, how much one serves, and how deeply one embodies humility. The great sages and mystics did not walk their paths in arrogance, but in surrender, knowing that the journey is never complete and that the student and the master exist within the same being. To overcome this trap, one must return to the root of all true spiritual practice, self-awareness. The moment one believes they have arrived is the moment growth ceases. The path is infinite, and every being, regardless of where they are in their journey, holds wisdom of their own. When superiority dissolves, true wisdom emerges, untainted by the need to be seen, validated, or placed above another. Beyond the psychological and emotional shifts of awakening, the body itself becomes a vessel of transformation, responding to the expanding consciousness in ways that can be both mystifying and overwhelming. These physical manifestations are not mere coincidences. They are deeply intertwined with the energetic shifts occurring within. Some experience intense fatigue, as though the body is recalibrating to hold a new frequency. Others find themselves struggling with erratic sleep patterns, either sleeping excessively as the body repairs itself, or unable to rest as the mind processes an influx of insight. Unexplained sensations arise, tingling in the hands, pressure between the brows, waves of heat surging through the spine. The body, once governed solely by the material, becomes a bridge between the seen and unseen. This heightened state of awareness extends to the senses as well. The world appears more vivid, colors seem richer, sounds more resonant, and even the simplest of moments hold an almost sacred intensity. Nature no longer feels distant but deeply alive. Every rustling leaf, every drop of rain, a conversation with existence itself. But alongside these gifts come the challenges. Sensitivity to energy intensifies, making crowded spaces overwhelming, certain interactions draining, and external negativity almost unbearable. The weight of collective suffering, once easily ignored, now presses against the heart with undeniable force. This is where the importance of grounding becomes essential. Just as a tree must have deep roots to grow tall, the awakened soul must find ways to stabilize amidst the shifting tides of energy. Practices like mindful breathing, time in nature, and nourishing the body with intentional care become vital tools. Honoring the body's needs, whether through rest, movement, or even medical attention, becomes an act of self-respect. One must learn to differentiate between transformation and imbalance, recognizing that while spiritual shifts are profound, they should not come at the cost of physical well-being. When honored rather than resisted, these changes become an integral part of the journey, reminding the seeker that spiritual evolution is not just an ascent of the mind, but a recalibration of the entire being. In the end, the path of awakening is not a singular moment of enlightenment, but a continuous unfolding. A dance between light and shadow, revelation and challenge, expansion and surrender. The dark side effects of awakening are not setbacks, but essential phases of the journey. Solitude, though at first isolating, becomes the sacred space where self-discovery flourishes. Sensitivity, though overwhelming, deepens one's connection to the world. The dark night of the soul, though painful, is a gateway to the highest truths. Even the temptations of spiritual arrogance serve as lessons, guiding one back to humility and authenticity. True awakening is not measured by how much one has learned, but by how deeply one has transformed. It is not about escaping suffering, but learning to navigate it with wisdom. It is not about standing apart, but standing within, fully present, fully aware, and fully alive. And so, the journey continues, not towards a final destination, but towards an ever-deepening truth, one that whispers through every challenge, every revelation, and every quiet moment of stillness. You are not separate from this universe. You are it.